So welcome. I think it's time to start our webinar. It's 11:30, so let's start talking about bad connectivity in buildings. Yeah, it's time, we think, to address these critical issues and find solutions for it. So we will give you a broad overview of what's going on in the market and what the importance is of solving the connectivity issues in buildings. So in our webinar, we have some house rules while we're waiting for others to come in. There's some rules to keep in mind. Keep your camera and microphone turned off. You can feel free to ask your questions via the Q&A. I will see the questions and we will record the questions. And if we cannot answer them all, then we will get back to you personally after the webinar. But we will try to answer as many questions as we can in the webinar when time is right for that. Some can be during the webinar and some will be right after. Let's see how many questions come in. But know that even if we cannot answer your question in the webinar, that we will get back to you personally afterwards, if that's the case. So I'll introduce our speakers of today. Meet Xavier. He's my colleague for Rave Through, and he is our connectivity expert. Then we have Nicholas White from the Smart Building Collective. They will both introduce what they do a bit later on in the webinar. And I am Cynthia. I am also working for the Rave Through team, and I will be moderating this webinar. And when you ask questions, I will ask them to our speakers today.
Thank you, Cynthia. So we'll first start with a small who is who and explain what are both our activity. So regarding Wave, actually, as Cynthia said, we are part of both Wave and Wave by AGC. Actually, it's a startup from AGC. AGC is a glass manufacturer, and this startup is dedicated to improve the connectivity inside buildings via the development of innovative solution. And you see on the right some of them. You have some glass that are friendly for radio, that let pass all radio signal from outside to inside. You have antenna that can be hidden into the glass for 5G densification, for 5G private network, and such kind of application. We have also glass that can completely block signal in order to have some shielding effect and avoid unwanted electromagnetic wave inside the building. And to support all these solution, actually, we've developed also some tools to audit and observe how is the connectivity inside and outside your building. Voilà. But our purpose is to bring back again connectivity, a good connectivity in new buildings. And now I give the word to Nicolas.
Hello, hello. Nice to be here with all of you, and wonderful to be sitting with Wave and this audience to talk about this really fascinating topic about connectivity. My name is Nicholas White. I come from the Smart Building Collective. This is the institution behind the Smart Building certification. So we're certifying buildings for all of their digital infrastructure and all of the possibilities that come with that digital infrastructure. Thinking about, how an asset is being used, how it performs, how healthy it is for the people using it, thinking about indoor air quality and sound and light and these types of things. Security, cybersecurity, and physical security is a key theme that we're working on. And then user behavior and collaboration, how people interact with each other and interact with the building. And all of that is kind of underpinned by connectivity and infrastructure, because without proper connectivity and infrastructure, all of these aspects start to kind of fall over and not work. And I think it's important to put focus on connectivity. I was speaking with Cynthia in the preparation for this, and we're talking with interior designers and architects, And it's amazing how many are not even thinking about connectivity yet. It's still quite a fresh topic, something new. And after COVID and doing so many things online, I think we're all starting to see the importance of proper connectivity in our work. The Smart Building Collective, the institution behind the certification, is a think tank focused on innovation, sustainability, well-being. So we're diving into all kinds of topics, and one of those topics with some of our partners, including Wave, is the importance of connectivity. And we really work to connect stakeholders from all kinds of different horizons to inform and innovate progress in this space. Smart buildings is still quite young, it's still quite new, and people are trying to understand how to use technology better in their organization. And so that's what we're diving into. And we're going to speak about all of those things today.
So now we're come to what the actual problem is, where do the challenges come from, and Nicholas will tell us a bit more about this subject.
Thank you, Cynthia. And I think what's so fascinating about the problem is, you know, in preparation for this webinar, as well as just connectivity in general, what's playing in the space. We come from an academic background. We come from a research perspective. We've been researching smart buildings and the impact of real estate on people for a long time now. And what we see is that there's actually not a whole lot of research out there about connectivity and its impact on business and individuals. But I think if all of us were to think about it concretely, about its impact for our work, and there's nothing more frustrating than having this image, right? When we're trying to do something, especially with COVID, we were all doing virtual calls. We were all working, trying to get, you know, these things to work. And there's nothing more frustrating than it not working. And I think that impact is bigger than just frustration. You know, when you have that video conference lag or you have bad connectivity, it disrupts communication within your organization completely. You're unable to work in this day and age. It's no longer a typewriter or writing down things on paper. We need proper infrastructure, and more from our communication is going to the cloud. There's a lot of documents going back and forth through your organization. And without proper connectivity, it all falls over and really starts to create productivity issues within your organization. It's not only about your internal and individual productivity, but it actually starts to impact how customers perceive the work that we're doing or able to do. Without it, it completely impacts customer experience to the point where those customers start to think about other ways of working. If you can't deliver based on the promises of your organization, which is all digital in so many regards in this wave, in this day and age, that those customers, if they can't work with you, then they won't be able to continue. So that it slows down your financials, your payment processes. It's a large working team, so the larger the company and the bigger the connectivity issues, the bigger the problem, and it really impacts exponentially the challenges that are happening in the organization. That data speed and reliability, and Xavier is going to go much more into the technical side of connectivity, but what we're seeing is that the requirement for data speed, for download levels, and how that really gets different pieces of data to us is getting more and more sophisticated, more and more robust. So when we start to really build buildings for people, connectivity has to be front and center in that discussion. And that's really what we want to focus on today. But when it comes to smart buildings, which is the world we are really focusing on as well. So, I mean, you have the operational of your business and how you're functioning within the company. But the building itself is also a digital ecosystem that is becoming more and more important in business. So on one side, it used to be, or in the last years, it's about a little bit of data to give you some insight on what your air quality is, or what your sound levels are, or what your energy consumption, or having a display in your atrium that tells your people where to go, or your access control, these types of things. But the smart building is becoming much, much more integrated into the business process. So it's not only about how people are able to communicate and function. Your building itself is becoming more and more of a key fundamental piece in your business process. So connectivity has to be robust, it has to be strong, and we need to make sure that it's working in a good way. And the most extreme and the aspect that none of us ever want to deal with are emergency situations. When things in the building go wrong, when you have fire or disruption, or things that are really life critical. Without good connectivity, the risk is even bigger. So in some ways, the connectivity becomes kind of life and death in areas. So it's really important to be focusing on this. What we see in the global spectrum around connectivity is that the United Nations and the European Union and different think tanks and different governmental organizations are starting to see connectivity as not just a tool for work, but a basic human right, in the sense that without good connectivity, the gap between performance, productivity, and how human life is supported is impacted. So where we've gone to that connectivity is a nice to have and something we should be using, it's becoming more and more critical. If it's so interesting looking at history and talking to historians about when computers and internet started coming on board, companies were fearful of it and said, no, I don't want people to be surfing the internet, they need to be working. Well, we all know that life has completely changed and work has completely changed. So this is no longer a nice to have, and it actually impacts value of real estate, it impacts value of business and performance of business, and these are things we should be focusing on.
Yes, just to get back, because a few new people joined our webinar. If you have any questions, you can use the Q&A button on the Teams, and then I will see your questions. And if we have time, we can go directly into the questions, but most questions will be answered after the webinar. And if your question isn't answered during this webinar, we will contact you directly, just to let you know that you can ask questions whenever they come up. So now we go further with how connectivity is disrupted.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting about how is connectivity disrupted, there's different levels of connectivity, right? What we're speaking about today is mobile connectivity and making sure that your cellular phone works when you need it, these types of things. But you have wired connectivity, you have Wi-Fi connectivity. So there's different categories that are happening. But a bit of where the alignment is for all of them is that you have towers all over cities, all over rural areas that are producing your connectivity, your connection to the grid, and your distance from as a building or as an office from that tower impacts the ability.
So I will pursue his presentation. So
Yeah.
I could say there are many factors that can impact good connectivity. You have distance from cell towers. You can have some signal obstruction between the emitter and the receiver. You can have also the building materials that play more and more an important role in the equation. And of course, the speed and the frequency used to broadcast all this connectivity will have a strong impact onto the quality of the connectivity at the end.
Did we lose him at all? I think. Well, we are going now to the traditional solutions and how that we can fix these problems. I think, Xavier, is this the part that you would take over, or should we inform Nicholas that he's out?
Nicholas, but I will also present. Okay.
Yeah.
So regarding the traditional solution that usually you hear on the market, you have signal boosters, you have a femtocell of small cell, distributed antenna system, Wi-Fi calling, and actually all this system can improve the connectivity inside your building, but it's not always easy to know which one to use, but actually I will deep dive in the detail.
So this is really a good example of what can go wrong if your connectivity is not good in your building.
Okay, maybe we can switch to my part, Cynthia.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, what do we mean by connectivity? I think that's Xavier. Could you take over the slides and go to your part?
Okay. So first of all, when we speak about connectivity, I think one important aspect to consider and to remind is that usually there is a mix. We hear a lot about Wi-Fi, cellular network, 5G, and often what we see is that there is an opposition between Wi-Fi and 5G. And actually, when you are inside a building and you connect exchange data with the outside world, actually you can use either Wi-Fi or cellular network. And actually, in the future, you will need both. You cannot say, okay, I will rely only on Wi-Fi or only on cellular network. They both have actually pro and cons. Wi-Fi is quite easy to access, but sometimes it's a best effort solution. It's sometimes unsecured, while cellular network require more effort because you need a device with a eSIM or SIM card. But on the other aspect, the quality is usually well monitored and is ensured. So depending on the application, you will choose one or the other. Okay. And so today we'll speak more, focus a bit more on cellular network. And actually, as I said, we are Wave, and as Wave, as a startup dedicated to connectivity inside the buildings, we perform many audits in different fields. We perform audit for connectivity audit for hospital, for co-working center, for offices. And actually, what we see is that there is really a true challenge coming, and connectivity is considered as a commodity, but actually it's not a commodity at all. It's not obvious to have a good connectivity inside your building, because actually often you have such kind of situation. You have walls that are well insulated. You have glazing that are also well insulated, and the combination of all this material will create a sort of Faraday cage, and inside you will get a very poor mobile connectivity. So what's next? Actually, the question that we can raise is will it become worse and worse? Is it a big challenge for the future? And actually, if you cross different trends, you can see that it will become a quite important topic to consider. The first trend to consider is the needs. actually what we see is that digitalization expands in the society. There is an increasing demand for more efficiency, more reliable and secure connectivity. For example, what we see is that we now remotely monitor or manage some assets, like in airborne, like in you can have cars that are remotely managed, or even in a factory, like at AGC. And of course, when you start to manage remotely some assets, you need to have good and reliable connectivity all over the time. It's not the best effort anymore. And moreover, you need to deal with more and more users and more and more IoT devices that are connected. So there is an expansion in the need. From telecom point of view, what we see is that the networks are saturated, and the answer, both for cellular network and Wi-Fi network, is to use higher and higher frequencies. When you look 10 years ago, when you were using a Nokia 3310, actually the old mobile phone using 2G, it was using a very, very low frequency at 800 megahertz. And actually for Wi-Fi, it was a bit the same. We were using 2.1 gigahertz, so it was a low frequency. And now what we see more and more is that you have a 4G coming, which is using 2.1, 2.8 gigahertz. Now you have a 5G that will use 3.5, so even higher. And for Wi-Fi is the same. Now Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 7 are using the high band at 5 gigahertz and 6 gigahertz. So what's nice is that, okay, we will use higher frequency. The fact to use higher frequency enable to use to spread and communicate more data, but the price paid actually is that the indoor coverage and the sensitivity of the waves to the material, building material, will be more important. So the propagation of all this radio signal will be more difficult. So, and regarding buildings, what do we see is that actually buildings are more and more insulated. And connectivity is rarely taken into account. And I took some pictures of photo from building that we see on the field. You see that it's fully metallic. Actually, you have a fully metallic facade, and you have sometimes solar blinders that are also fully metallic. And regarding insulating panels, usually we see more and more often PU panels with aluminum foil. Or even inside the building, you have partition walls that are also fully metallic. So even if you want to put an active system, actually, since it's fully metallic inside, you need to put many access points. And it will, of course, cost a lot. And regarding glazing, actually, we also play with an impact in the equation, because since the years 2000, actually, there is always a metallic coating that enable to get high performance for your building, but this metallic coating will completely stop radio wave. So voilà, regarding, you see that the need is increasing. Telecom trend is to use, the solution is to use higher frequency, and the building are more and more insulated. So the connectivity problem is raising up. And of course, as I said, 5G will not solve the situation. It will bring more capacity outside, but since it's using actually higher frequency, it will be more difficult to make enter inside the building.
Yeah, so now we're going to talk about how bad connectivity impacts your daily business.
Yes, as I say, voilà, this lack of connectivity is important. Often I focus on two main segments that we address with WAVE. Actually, you have co-working and elderly care and hospital. And for both the impact that we see. For co-working, especially, you have disrupted call and expensive deployment of IT, and sometimes you have a bad customer experience for your co-working, and sometimes people are leaving the co-working. So it's quite painful for the building manager, for the co-working manager, and it's generating stress and a lack of business. Regarding elderly care, we see a strong increase in e-health and monitoring of patients. So there are more and more systems that are rolled out to support the work of the nurses inside the hospital and help them to know which patient is the high priority to be for some care. And again, due to the lack of connectivity, actually, it creates some false alarm, and so it's insecure, and you have some tension because you don't have reliable data to manage your hospital.
And now I've got a question a few minutes ago already from one of our attendees who wanted to know what the solutions are. So fortunately, we're now at that point that we can talk about what the solutions can be.
Yes, so here I will review briefly for me, there are some basic rules to improve the indoor coverage. I think the first rule is to think about connectivity from scratch when you design the building, because it's one of the main issues that we discover a lack of connectivity when there is the commissioning of the building or the inauguration. So the first thing to do is to evaluate the needs of the future occupant. Do they need multi-operator, low latency, and good connectivity everywhere, such kind of thing. The second one is to perform regularly some connectivity audit during the construction of your building. So you will monitor the natural coverage and the evolution of the natural coverage inside your building. And sometimes you see that even without windows and even with big holes inside your facade, the natural coverage is bad. And in this case, you need to already investigate some active system. Regarding the construction and material used for the building, of course, you can choose facade material that will foster the natural coverage. Avoid to put metallic separation wall everywhere in all your offices. Regarding the design of the office of the workplaces, actually, you can again conduct some audit, and then you will see that the indoor coverage is non-uniform inside your building, and you can put some functionality at the right place. So, for example, you can put the phone corner where you have a good connectivity. Sometimes on some building, we see that where there is really a red spot, a black spot, no connectivity at all, the designer put the phone corner. So it's quite difficult for the employees to manage this situation. And sometimes, of course, you need to improve. And I will review some of the classical solutions that are used on the market. The first one is do nothing. And don't rely on cellular networks. So you apply only a Wi-Fi network inside your building, and you cannot rely on 4G or 5G. This solution usually is not 100% professional, because you will ask, in this case, to your occupant to use voice over Wi-Fi, and sometimes it's unreliable. So it's a trade-off. It depends on what you are doing, but voilà, you cannot rely on the cellular network in this case. The two other one. Actually, you have the fact to place a repeater. In this case, what you will do is to capture the signal outside and re-eject the signal inside your building. Or you have the third solution, which is the DAS. Again, you put an antenna inside your building, but this time the antenna will be connected to the network of your mobile operator. In this case, you will bring additional capacity onto the network. So, voilà, that's roughly the overview of the different, the traditional solution. These solutions are usually quite expensive. We speak about a budget between 40K to several million euros for a DAS. So it's quite expensive, and sometimes it's a big surprise when you open or you commission your building.
And also just to add is for DAS is mostly the DAS systems that are deployed at buildings are mostly for one operator. If you will want to have them for all three of the network operators, it's even more costly. It's in just feasible for really big companies normally. So now we're going to talk about, is there an alternative solution? This is where Wave2 and Xavier and I come in, really to let you know that we have a totally different way of approaching the connectivity market, and Xavier will share some in-depth information about it.
Indeed, actually 5 years ago we've seen this traditional solution. We say, okay, maybe there is a thing to do and a solution to develop that is less and more affordable and can have a multi-operator aspect. And here the solution that we propose is to make the windows radio-friendly to radio wave. So we have developed a system to treat on-site all the glazing with a laser, and then you will keep all the performance of your double glazing, of triple glazing, but the cellular network will pass through the glazing. And then you manage to get a really good coverage inside your building in a passive way. And what's very nice is that once the mobile operator will upgrade the technology outside, automatically you will get the upgrade inside. It does not require maintenance, and it's really cheaper than active solution. And now I've prepared also one case to give you a taste of performance. Actually, this one was a bank agency in Belgium. Within actually the depth of the building is 30 meters. There is glazing only on the front facade, and actually all occupants, all employees of the bank and the customer were complaining about the fact that they cannot rely the Belfius application, they cannot call, and it was really difficult to make business in this case. And the solution that we propose to them is to apply some treatment on site to make their glazing transparent to radio wave. And I just show you what is the performance before and after. So before, you have the situation for the call and the speed test. So typically in our audit, what we do is to we make some constant calling outside and calling inside. You see that outside you can call in a digital way. You have access to the 4G high band, while inside the mobile phone switch to the 2G. 2G, which is the backup technology when the 4G is not present. And actually, even the 2G is very bad in some cases since you have red boxes. So it means that for the occupant, it was not possible to call inside the building for all operators. And regarding the speed tests, it's roughly the same conclusion. You can perform very good data exchange outside the building, but inside, due to the facade and the building envelope, everything is blocked. And then we performed the treatment. It took 1 day. It was very quick. And then you see that you have a green map in 4G, inside, outside. All speed tests are very good, meaning that, voilà, we managed to recover natural coverage, good natural coverage inside the building for all operators.
Yes, so the the way we work, before I'll talk about the summary, what we just talked about, is normally for Wave 2, what we do is we can come to your building, we do a free audit, depends a bit on how big the building is, but we can measure inside and outside the radio network. Then we exactly know where the problems are. We make a report and we make an offer, and then we can plan very soon. When you for example, when you order a DAS system, it will take months before you can have the DAS system. But because our solution is really easy and we're just applying wave through treatment to the glazing, we can be very quick with that solution also. So yeah, that's a bit about the way we work. Well, the summary of what we just talked about, and unfortunately, Nicholas White, had so much bad connectivity that we didn't get him into the meeting anymore. Oh, you're.
No, I'm here now. Yeah.
You're here now. We cannot see you, but you're here now. Okay.
And
yeah,
I think you guys have covered everything beautifully, and I'm so sorry for my bad connectivity, but it proves our point very, very clearly that connectivity is important. But I do want to say one additional thing to what you just mentioned about your process. You know, what we are always pushing from a smart building perspective and from a digitization of real estate is this continuous improvement philosophy of experimentation and assessing the situation for what it is, and then building upon that assessment to where you're trying to go. And I think one of the aspects of your solution that you understate, I think, is the ability to assess the current situation. And you all have created a fantastic product for actually looking at how well the connectivity is working, and then from there making informed decisions on what, you know, solution you're going to implement. So I think, you know, as a starting point to really assess the connectivity for what it is now, that's a really important step.
Yep. Thank you, Nicholas. Yeah, so we are, this is something that we didn't really get to talk about, but we're working with the Smart Building Collective because they also set up think tanks to not only think about wave through but connectivity in a whole. And this is something we also invite you to think about. If this is something, if you're interested to join with the Smart Building Collective, to be able to talk with us and with Nicholas and other partners in the Smart Building Collective about these kinds of problems and how to solve it. So the summary of our webinar of today is connectivity is becoming more and more challenging. It's more asked. I will just, I have a question. I can answer that now. We have somebody asked, do we have an example? Of course, Xavier already told a bit about one of the buildings in Belgium we worked on. But for example, an important market for us is elderly care homes. Why is that important? Is because in this example, the elderly care home uses equipment that the patient and the nurse can talk to each other. The patient presses the button, so some kind of alarm button, and can make direct connection to the nurse. Because of personnel problems, we all know that there is not that much care personnel available. So they can be everywhere in the building, and the problem was there was no good connection possible. So what they had to do is give some kind of other alarm, and when they pushed that button, then the nurse needed to come to the patient always, because that was the real alarm for when there was a real problem. So that was very, very impactful for everybody who was working there, and the patients were very insecure about it as well. So we assessed the building. We measured outside and inside. The problems got bigger when they were there for about 2-3 years, because there were more buildings added around the site. And then, we saw that there was, good connectivity outside, but the buildings around the elderly care home interfered more than before with the radio connectivity signaling. So we did measurements inside. The glazing really blocked off the radio signaling, and through the wave-through treatment, we opened up the whole elderly care facility. And now all the equipment they have to communicate to each other, the patients and the nurses, and the internal communication, all works well. And also when somebody is visiting their parent, or when the parent wants to call their child, they can all do this without having any problems. So we've got lots and lots of cases like this. This is just one for now, but it's all different markets where we have different impact, and we will always give honest advice. Like Nicholas said, we will first see what is the problem. Is wave-through the best solution or not? We are very honest. If we're not the solution, we will get you into contact with the right solution for your building. But connectivity is getting more and more important. And when it's going to be 5G, the problem will even get more interesting for us as a glazing company, because we know that 5G is even worse to go through the facade of the building. So so the problems will be increasing when 5G is coming to the market. But you can always contact us to get advice, and with Nicholas to join the think tanks and let them evaluate your building as well. So that's for me for now for the summary. I'm not sure if anybody has some questions to ask. If not, it's a bit we're a bit less connected with each other, unfortunately, than we should have been. But it only stresses out the problem, like Nicholas just said. Of course, you can always, you see for me and for Xavier, you see our email addresses in the screen, so you can always contact us through that as well. And here's and Nicholas, your contact details are on.
Like I said at the beginning, when we do a literature review on what is the actual impact of bad connectivity, there's actually not a whole lot of research out there. So we're actually really starting to put some fuel behind more research in the space of connectivity, thinking about its impact on health, well-being, stress, different aspects of its impact. So not only on organizational performance, but how do the different pieces of connectivity impact our way of life. And so if you are at all interested in evaluating your current situation of connectivity, the WAVE team is an incredible resource and group to help you do that. If you're interested in getting involved with research on a broader scale, learning from other types of solutions and looking at smart buildings as a whole, don't hesitate to connect with us and to get in touch. We'd be happy to help you in any way we can. And I'm sorry for my aspect of disrupting today.
Yeah, it's never done on purpose. So no problem. So if there are no questions at this moment, I would like to thank you for attending this webinar, and please get in contact with us with any questions you have.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I see for now. Let's just email us and we will get back to you. Thank you all for attending. And have a good day.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.